On this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys why I am still bullish on crypto. And I know that I've seen it in the comment section below that, a lot of you guys are kind of giving up on crypto. At least from the highlighted comments. I do see both sides of the comments, but I do see some people giving up on crypto. And I know it's been a very boring market, especially for the altcoins, when you see your altcoins just continuously going down, especially these altcoins that have been around for a couple of years already, if not more. Uh, I just want to say that I've been in this market for 5+ years, and the last a year and a half has been brutal for crypto. But if anything is for sure over my past 5+ years of trading, is that all things come to an end, which means bull cycles, bear cycles, and consolidation cycles. We have been in a lot of consolidation, but I do think it's going to come to an end soon. And I do think that we're going to come out on the bullish side of things. And why am I saying that? It's because I do have a few bullish key points that I have been making, right? And I do still think that those points are intact. One of which, the main one, is that the Fed has just started its Fed rate cut cycle back in September. Okay. We are also seeing the stock market at all-time highs, basically beating all-time highs today. And stock market, which is S&P 500, the one that I mainly pay attention to, ES1 exclamation mark, the futures for S&P 500, beating all-time highs today. That has been highly correlated with Bitcoin. If you guys think about it, right? Let's just take a look at in the S&P 500's chart. Okay, we S&P 500 has basically just surpassed its all-time highs, right, from last year. Okay, last year's all-time highs, this is the weekly time frame, was at about almost 6,200. S&P 500 has just surpassed that not too long ago. In fact, it's about 10% above its previous all-time highs from last year. If you think about Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin was at about 110K last year before getting a huge drop. We're basically about 10% above last year's all-time highs. Okay, so very correlated with S&P 500. Will this correlation, which is basically surpassing the all-time highs recently, carry over to Bitcoin? I got my money on it, right? In addition to quite a bit of other key bullish points that I'll be making, and I have been making. I am long on quite a bit of the altcoins here, so my opinions on this market, of course, are bullish, but these are just my opinions, like the entirety of this video, and it's not financial advice. You guys gotta form your own opinions and strategies, but like I said, I'm still bullish on crypto, despite it's been boring, despite a lot of my portfolio has been going down for the past year and a half, but I have seen rebounds that are also pretty crazy, okay? And I still think we're in this bull cycle. Now, we're also going to be talking about a few major crypto news, as well as altcoin setups in this video. I'm going to be taking a look into XYO Network, which looks like it's been pumping very just recently right now, right? Based on the pattern I've been talking about. We're also going to be taking a look into CELO, which is CELO, which is a request by one of my longtime viewers. If you guys have any requests, you guys can drop it in the comment section below. I'll pick a request due for you guys on a daily basis. We're also going to be taking a look into the third one is going to be MogCoin and see what's happening with MogCoin, which is the meme coin. There is going to be a move soon. Let's see which direction it ends up going. Will it go in the direction that the probabilities are in favor of? Because we're all just talking about probabilities here. Nothing is for certain in this market. Let's go ahead and take a look into news first, and then we're going to dive back into the charts, okay? First piece here is by News BTC. It says, Shiba Inu might be dead and sleeping, but not for long, crypto experts say. Like I said, when once Bitcoin gets some bullish momentum in here, right? That surpasses its previous all-time highs. I do think that is going to be the restart of this bull cycle here. We're taking some consolidation, some long consolidation here, but I still think that it's gonna continue upwards. And when we actually get a clear trend upwards, right? I know there has been a lot of fake outs, but when we actually get a clear trend upwards, I do think that these altcoins, Shiba Inu included, is are going to be actually moving for good. Let's take a look into the next piece here. Is by the block. Softer inflation gives Bitcoin room to run, but downside risk lurk beneath, analysts says. So let's take a look into the CPI inflation data that came in today, okay? It says Bitcoin climbed after U.S. consumer price index rose 3% year over year, slightly below the 3.1% estimate. So that's very good for the Fed to cut rates, even though I think that the Fed is cutting rates based on weak jobs data rather than inflation, because inflation has been, I mean, I don't think they have been able to tame it, okay? But it's really the weakening jobs data that is driving the Fed rate cut cycle here. Let's take a look into the Fed rate cut probability here based on CME Watch Tool. We're still at about 97%, okay? It hasn't changed much. In fact, I think it has actually gone down, but it really doesn't matter. It's 97%. And this tool has been very accurate in predicting the Fed rate cuts, okay? Of course, these probabilities could change. Let's take a look into December. We're looking at about 100%. Let's take a look in January, 100%. March, of course, these are going to be far projections and are very prone to change, but right now it's looking like it's pretty good for more rate cuts coming, and that's going to drive cheaper money into the markets. Another point I've been making is retail interest has been coming into the markets. Not based on this week. It has slumped this week, but if we actually take a look into retail interest, this is the search term for Bitcoin on Google. In the United States for the past 5 years, it has correlated with previous bull cycles. I mean, it doesn't go straight up, right? But there has been a increase in retail interest. So this is another argument I want to make. Of course, I got to see this thing continue upwards. And I'm not really too concerned about this week's slump, right? Because it doesn't go straight up. Like I said, even if you take a look at previous bullish times here for crypto, it doesn't go straight up. It does go, it does fluctuate, okay? But it has been on an uptrend. Let's see if this continues upwards. Let's go ahead and go to the next piece here, which is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin spikes to 112K on soft US CPI data as S&P 500 hits record highs, okay? Yeah, I mean, basically what we've been talking about. Let's go ahead and go to the next piece. This is by You Today. Saylor reacts to JP Morgan's Bitcoin U-turn. Let's take a look here. Former strategy CEO Michael Saylor has already reacted to JP Morgan's sudden current cryptocurrency U-turn. Don't wait until your banker tells you to buy Bitcoin, Saylor said on the social media network. JP Morgan legitimizing Bitcoin, crypto. Earlier today, Bloomberg reported that JP Morgan will allow its institutional clients to use the two leading cryptocurrencies as collateral for accessing liquidity. So probably for loans, right? So that sounds pretty bullish for crypto as a whole, right? At least in the long run. I mean, is it gonna cause a sudden pump in this market? I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not seeing it based on this news, but it is definitely good for the fundamentals of crypto in the long term. Let's take a look into the next piece here is by You Today. 5 most important Bitcoin price levels to watch on the weekends. I know my levels to be watching. If you guys want to read more into this piece by this analyst here, you guys can. You guys can get all this news in TradingView. I do have an affiliate link in the video on the description section below. If you guys sign up using my link, that supports my channel. Thank you very much. I will go ahead and go back to the charts here. Okay, so we are still stuck in this range, and volatility is tightening. Okay, so that means something is about to happen. Okay, Now, let's take a look into this weekly time frame here, which is a rising wedge breakdown. And the breakdown target, if we actually get there, is going to be catastrophic for Bitcoin and altcoins. And the breakdown target is going to take Bitcoin all the way down to almost 80,000. Will it actually get there? There's quite a bit of support in between where the price action is right now and the breakdown target, including your very strong support right now that Bitcoin has been holding above, which is the daily 200 at about the 108,000. Okay, if we break below that support, the next key support I'll be looking at would be the weekly 50 SMA, which is, I don't think is going to be very strong support because Bitcoin has been there 2 times already in this trend. Okay, once back here, once back here, and then if we come down here on the third time, I don't expect that to be very strong support. Okay, because when you keep hitting a support or resistance, it gets weaker. Now let's come down to the daily time frame here. Daily time frame, like I've been talking about, this is a very important level to be holding above on, which is the daily 200 SMA, 108.5 thousand, the orange line here. If we actually hold above this level, the next key resistance to be paying attention to is going to be that about 115k range, where your daily moving averages are at, right? Also want to mention that there is a falling wedge pattern here that we broke out of a couple of days ago, and the price target for this pattern would be about 122,000, 122.5 thousand. Let's see which one of these scenarios actually play out. So it's very important to be paying attention to the shorter term time frame right now, because we got 2 targets in play, and price targets are estimates only. There could be more or less. Okay, so very important right now on this daily time frame. Let's take a look into XYO network. Okay, XYO network. What has been happening with XYO here, and why I think you guys, I've been mentioning this, okay, and if you guys been watching my videos, you guys would know that these falling wedge patterns, very simple, very effective patterns to be paying attention to, because they usually tell you that after an extensive downtrend on that time frame, that the price action is likelier to break to the upside. We had a breakout here back in for XYO back in March, right? And the price target is still at about 3.9 cents. That is still a valid breakout because the price action is still above that upper trend line of the pattern that it broke out from. It hasn't done anything for quite a while. Okay, it's been just consolidating for quite some time. But it has also formed another falling wedge pattern here that I've been talking about more recently. Okay, that has been forming since April, right? The price target for this one would be about 2.2 cents price target, which is still a pretty decent move. It's a double of, I mean, basically 2x of where the price action is right now. Okay, looks like it's trying to break out of quite a bit of resistance here. All your weekly moving averages are above the price action, pretty much, acting as resistance. Now let's see if it meets this price target here, right? Because price targets again are estimates only. In the case of altcoins, a lot of this does depend on what happens with Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin starts dumping, especially extensively, that's not gonna be good for these altcoins. That could kill a lot of these altcoin setups. Okay, now let's take a look into a shorter time frame. Shorter time frame here, 4-hour time frame. Okay, it broke out of this smaller falling wedge pattern, and I mean, from what I'm seeing here, it basically beat its price target for this smaller falling wedge pattern, trying to break out of this bigger one here. So some things to be paying attention to. Let's go ahead and go to CELO and see what's happening with CELO. Weekly time frame. Talked about this falling wedge pattern. Okay, it tried to break out a couple of weeks ago, but has not been successful. However, I am not invalidating this falling wedge pattern because the highest time frame that this falling wedge pattern is validated in is the monthly time frame that I'm seeing. Okay, And based on this monthly time frame, I still just see a candle wick above the pattern, and candle wicks do not invalidate patterns. Okay, and this monthly candle has not. I mean, we still got 7 more days left on this monthly candle. So, very important to be paying attention to this pattern here. Let's see if this breakout continues for CELO, because if it does, the price target will still be about $1.70, which is a huge move for CELO here. But it could take some time to play out. This is on the monthly time frame. Okay, quite a bit of resistance along the way, including your monthly 21 SMA, the blue line, your monthly 50 SMA, the gray line here, which is about $1.20. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see what CELO can be doing. 3-day time frame. Double bottom. Double bottoms are bullish patterns that usually break to the upside. And price target for this double bottom pattern here, if it breaks to the upside, would be about 78 cents. Neckline of this double bottom is about 50 cents. Let's see if it gets there. There is also bullish divergence that could be playing out right now. Bullish divergence usually indicates that there is going to be a reversal or a bounce. Let's see how this plays out. Let's go ahead and go to a smaller time frame, even more, and see if I can get a better read here. Even right, 12-hour time frame. Potential cup and handle pattern that could still be forming, that is not completed yet. I'm looking for basically the handle part of the pattern to establish, right? And that's going to take another attempt or test back at 27 cents. So on the 12-hour time frame here, if I see another test back to about 27 cents, that will form and validate this cup and handle pattern, which is also a bullish pattern that usually breaks to the upside. Also have to mind the downside risk as well, because I also see cup and handles break down, right? I mean, we're all just talking about probabilities here. Even though these are bullish patterns or bearish patterns that have a higher chance of moving in one direction, they also have a smaller chance of breaking to the other direction, right? Gotta mind the downside risk. Let's go ahead and go to MogCoin and see what's happening with MogCoin. Weekly time frame. I talked about MogCoin here. This is the weekly time frame, and talked about this falling wedge pattern that MogCoin broke out back in April. Still valid breakout. Price action is still above this upward trend line of the pattern. The price target for this pattern here will be 5 zeros and 248. Okay, still valid price targets. It has went up to as far as about 5 zeros and 20. Since then, it has been on this falling wedge pattern, despite the huge crash from 2 weeks ago. This pattern is still valid. That is the beauty of price of technical analysis, is that you see other traders seeing the same thing, right? Basically bought this crash right back up to the bottom trend line here, and that is the bottom trend line is still support. And the price action for MogCoin, of course, very little volatility for the past 2 weeks, but something's about to happen, okay? Because when volatility tightens, that tells me that something's about to happen, right? Because it tells me that it's usually running very tightly within a pattern, right? That could potentially be moving soon. Now, in this case, would be the falling wedge here, that it has a tightening channel. Now, the price target here, if it breaks out by this point, for example, price target for MogCoin would be 5 zeros and 148. Let's see if this breaks to the upside and meets that price target. Also have to consider the downside, because falling wedges could still break down as well. So this is basically what I'm seeing for MogCoin, the meme coin. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of Mog, XYO, or CELO, or any other coins in this market by dropping a like, comment, subscribe. I'll pick a request to you for you guys on a daily basis, and I'll see you on the next one.